Hello, this is Igor Stenmark at MGI Research. We are at the 2021 Monetized Forum Conference. In our next session, Streamlining Global Quote to Cash, we will hear from one of the senior enterprise technology professionals at SAP with responsibility for key parts of global quote to cash operation. Typically, we hear from SAP as a vendor, but in this case, our guest speaker, Benno Matschinsky, comes from within SAP's internal IT organization that supports monetization of its key software products. Benno plans to share with us today some lessons learned from SAP's own experience in scaling up complex consumption-based pricing models. Benno has spent most of his 30-year plus technology career at SAP with assignments ranging from software engineering to contract management to running internal ERP systems to his current focus on running the core internal monetization systems behind SAP products such as Concur, Ariba, and SAP Cloud, among others. He is joining us today from Waldorf, Germany. Benno, welcome to Monetized Forum 2021. Thank you for participation. We're delighted to have you as a guest.
All right, thank you for inviting me.
Thanks for being here. So to start, normally I would ask the guests to introduce their companies, but in this case, it would be pretty silly because pretty much everybody knows who SAP is and what you guys do. You guys are a leading provider of software for business applications. And I think likely many members today are already SAP customers. But instead, I'd like to maybe ask you to give us maybe a more in-depth picture of the kinds of things that you're focused on at SAP.
Yeah, I'd like to talk to you not necessarily about the SAP products, of course, but the fact that we are trying to and have been adapting our solutions that support our business and consumers in a change of behavior over the last couple of years. Okay, in the sense of more the business looking for predictable revenue, predictable cash flow, as however the customer looking more for, of course, the dependable services that SAP quite often offers, right? And of course, the predictable cost along with that. What does it mean for us? Our focus then is in that adaptation that we're going from more from a buy and own type of solution support to a more subscribe and use type of solution support, and without leaving the other ones behind. Okay. At the same time, that has to support a plethora of products and services from SAP. SAP Cloud Platform, one of the first ones that we tried to put onto this monetization platform, as well as C4, S4, the networks like Ariba Supplier, even delving into our professional services, other acquisitions like Qualtrics in experience data services and solutions that we're offering. What that all brought to us was, or at least that we see on our IT solution side, is the solution has to cater more towards an adjusted cycle time. Let's put it this way. All right, cycle time from a yearly to a monthly invoice, for example. All right, many more invoices. Just some numbers that we've had were in the per annum, say for an O2I operational expert in our finance department would cover maybe 10,000 invoices per year. They are now in even if we're expanding our staff, still have to cater to about 150,000 invoices per year per annum. Just to give you an idea of some of the pressures or the behavioral changes that we have to adapt towards.
So what are some of the kind of other dimensions aside from just volume in terms of where is the complexity? I mean, you guys operate at tremendous scale with customers all around the world. And so what are the dimensions of complexity here? So volume is one, obviously, but operating kind of on, kind of on demand, consumption based, that's a new experience for most companies, even for you guys. And were you ready for this?
To some degree, yes. I mean, the complexity we had, because we have very complex relationships with customers along a certain customer journey, matched, of course, with a sometimes complex sales journey, because we have a number of acquisitions over the past that we have to sort of collect, coming all with different variants. And of course, then along with an operational side of a journey or complexity that we also have to bring together. Okay. At the same time, trying to cater to that changing behavior, volume at the same time. Okay. Given those customer relationship being complex, it means we'll have a complex master data structure to deal with, hierarchies, etc. Given those different operational setups from all the different products that we had, okay, trying to converge, but we have still variants there. We have different customer data behaviors, metrics that we're usage metrics that we're collecting, right, and try to feed that into a solution that then can charge against those complex models that we still have. Okay. We assume that this will take time to converge to a simplified sales model, or to a simplified data model of understanding our customers' behavior and then charging against that.
So it's variety of different kind of vectors here. So you have complex product genetics, you have complex contractual relationships, you have huge volumes, and you have, I imagine, also huge kind of issues of regulatory stuff. What gets charged, when it does it get charged, how does it get charged, and where, and what currency, and what language, and so on and so on.
Exactly. So we do have the complexity also, all the countries of the world, all the different languages, the compliancy when we're talking about the invoice itself.
Yeah.
CIS region compliancy will be different than the United States, for example, for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely.
SAP very, very strong in trying to comply as much as possible, of course.
Yes. Where is, in your sense, where is SAP now in terms of its adoption of usage-based or even outcome-based pricing models, sort of going beyond? You guys have been doing subscriptions for a very long time, but the usage-based and consumption-based, that's relatively new, as I understand it. I mean, on a big scale, not on a kind of experimental scale, but like on a broad adoption level. Where do you think SAP is in terms of its kind of maturity of dealing with something like that? And what are some of your key strategies in this area?
Okay, so we had actually, products and customers that actually are using subscription and pay per use already in place. So of course we were able to leverage some of our experience in helping other customers already.
Right.
Been able to draw on that through product as well. And I think we're at a stage where we can easily say subscription integrated with a CPQ solution on down then into revenue accounting. So with the accounting principles applied to this as well, the subscription is very solid, works very well for us. So we have a very strong maturity level there. Consumption or usage or pay per use in a cloud platform product space, anything that builds on a cloud platform, a rather solid solution supporting that, so that I think we're at a very good stage or platform to start from, where we can start to experiment with some of the one of the ideas that our business and sales responsibles come up with over time and add up on top. Okay, this doesn't mean that we have covered all of the
Sure.
product base, but we're at a level where we can start to add and mature even further.
Right, right.
Okay.
Companies that are sort of thinking about going in the same direction that you have gone in terms of sort of enabling consumption-based business model, kind of as a more or less a standard model on your platform, internal platform. What have you learned from your experience, and what advice would you offer them?
Well, in essence, we could have or should have simplified a bit more than we have so far.
So remove
Okay.
complexity, I guess.
So the complexity we have to simplify.
Yeah.
Going along with that, of course, standardize. We've done some standardization, of course, especially when it comes to that metering as a service with our cloud services that we
Yeah.
offer. Okay. One of the where we did that standardization, simplification, unification, we've had an easier time with it. Okay, just giving an example. We continue on that theme, and we're trying then, of course, to unify and simplify also our invoicing and get basically all of invoicing onto a unified platform, bring all our cash collection onto a unified platform, and work forward on that what do you call a pattern, if you want to say that. Okay. The other one is we have to digitize everything, basically. All right. In order to allow for reconciliation, don't depend on the person to do that because of the volume. All right.
Yep.
Automate, of course, every step of the way. Automate even checks and balances, etc. Okay. And of course, we do need to and have been trying to leverage some of the newer ideas in the sense of machine learning or learning solutions, which SAP of course has, so that we can say predict if a charge is actually accurate or not, and think towards working with exceptions or clarification cases rather than check and balance from a person on as a rule. Okay. So it's basically simplify, standardize, digitize, automate.
Yeah.
Focus on that.
What does your kind of technology stack look like? Is it all kind of homegrown, internal SAP off-the-shelf products? Is it a mix of internal and third parties? I'm particularly interested in kind of a data aspect of what you're doing, because we've seen companies that are way smaller than you guys that try to do what you're doing and they drown in data, especially in dirty data, when they try to unify and simplify our situation. What does your stack look like? What is your combination? What is your footprint that you operate with today?
Well, in essence, we're kind of lucky. At least I think we're kind of lucky. We have a lot of an SAP standard suite of platform and applications that we can start from. We try to do SAP runs SAP, right? SAP runs SAP doesn't mean all of the components in that suite, say the BRIM suite on S/4HANA, as the example that we're talking about here, is from SAP itself. We will partner, of course, with other companies. Digital Root fits very nicely with their mediation zone to help us in that whole bring the metered data into our commercial platform itself, distribute and do other data services there involved with that. And of course, the BRIM itself, plus we use our own revenue accounting solution with which we, of course, would integrate because we do have an invoice-based revenue model. and other products such as OpenText in order to digitize the invoice and distribute it in a digital form.
Right, right.
Other Adobe products to help us in the online presence when we actually say have an online version of the invoice itself as well.
Right, right. And we talked briefly before about kind of the complexity dimensions of what you're doing. You also have a lot of partners that you guys work with in the cloud area, and also with a lot of other third-party software vendors that are either bringing you business or you're bringing them business. So there's a complex system there. How do you manage all that data that's floating around?
Well, just some of the complex relationships that we have to cater to adapt the solution as well. A really prime example in the space of the consumption data, we have hyperscalers, like a Microsoft hyperscaler, selling our products to end customers, along with, of course, their own products. What do we have to do? We have to be able to deliver the usage of those services that they've sold to that end customer onto Microsoft or another hyperscaler, so that they can then in turn charge their end customer. And of course, that meant that we also have to add in additional features in the direction of how do I charge an aggregate across multiple customers that they have, and of course charge them at a discount. They need to make some money, right? And such relationships. Other relationships is supporting some of those partners that I mentioned on the monetization platform that we have, like Digital Root or potentially OpenText or others that we also use through our SAP Runs SAP offerings, right?
Right. In sort of in running kind of monetization, the scale of SAP, and specifically kind of thinking about consumption-based, usage-based pricing models. You mentioned some of the sort of key kind of do's and don'ts. Companies that are kind of thinking to go in this direction but haven't gotten there, maybe they're experimenting right now. What should be their priority? You mentioned simplification, you mentioned some aspects of data management, mediation, and so on. What should be their priority to be ready to go in this direction? What should they be focusing on first?
Well, I think we did a bit, and I'd like to say actually, you'll never be completely ready. All right, so start simple, naturally. Try early, mature it over time. Okay, we couldn't just put everything on a subscription and consumption because we didn't have everything already on subscription and consumption. So you have to assume that you'll be running in parallel. But you got to start that small, simple, mature it over time. Start maybe with subscription first, then add the pay per use on top. I would think that you should be ready for data quality issues with a large impact, especially when you go to the consumption-based billing space. Because as soon as you get, say, a charge wrong, you're probably going to get it wrong for a lot of customers at once.
It's asymmetric, it multiplies out.
So you have to build for failure in that sense, and automate those checks, get them in early as possible. We try to actually bring the customer into the equation in the sense that, let's start charging say during the course of the month, even though the invoice will come at the end of the month, right? And give them transparency in their usage, transparency in the potential charge that might come towards the end of the month, just as another option. And started to look at testing our solutions a bit more beyond the acceptance criteria of what I expect from a business point of view or a customer point of view, but look at some of the behavioral patterns in the data in production. All right. We haven't reached that yet, that level, but that's something that we see that would help us, because quite often it says, what's the check that everybody does? Yeah, does it fit to my experience over the last months of that particular customer? Because I'm checking based on a customer experience in my acceptance. So why can't I build it in as an automation?
Exactly.
Help me make sure that I have a reliable monetization platform for my businesses, and in essence, for my customer. Right?
Okay.
And the last one is, don't look too far back as far as cycles are concerned. We're having a little bit of a challenge to why should I look at the behavior from 2 years back in order to figure out what is my charge potentially today.
Okay. We're almost out of time in our session, and we probably keep going here and talk for another hour or so. But in conclusion, I wanted to ask you one question. What is one thing that people don't know about SAP but they should?
Well, I've been here quite a long time, actually.
So you would know the
One
answer.
thing I would think that something that's carried me through and kept me there is that I know that SAP is always trying with their heart, to basically do the right thing, right? Try to make sure that we just deliver the right thing for our customers and the people at SAP itself, working with each other. A lot of heart involved.
All right, Benno, thank you very much for joining us here, for your time, and for sharing some words of wisdom here. I hope you have a good rest of Monetize Forum 2021. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.